Forge Academy is a platform where music theory and other music related topics are taught. And today we'll be starting with our first lesson on music theory, which is rudiment of music. So introduction to music is what we are going to be looking at today, and as we have on our outline, we have introduction to music, we have the definitions, we have sound versus noise versus music, we have music history, just a brief about music history, then we have the use of music, and lastly the elements of music. So let's begin. Introduction to music. As we continue, I want us to know that music is first felt, then you hear it, then you understand it. Let's take an example. Probably there was a time you loved the music so much, you just loved it because you are feeling the music. Then there was a time that probably reality hits you and you got to understand the lyrics, the meaning of what the song said, and then you understood what was going on. That's simply definition of music. Yeah, so let's start with the simple definition of music. Music is organized sound and silence used to express ideas, emotions, and meaning over time. Music is sound. Definitely we are dealing with sound in music. Music also includes silence. That is to say, not every moment we would have sound throughout. There are periods and moments we have silence. It might be for a little while or for a long period of time. Music is also organized. Now in this lesson, we are not looking at music based on the academic point of view or just something we want to learn and pass. No, we are taking our time to explain what music is to the best we can for you to understand. Now, an academic definition of music is: music is the art of arranging sound in time using rhythm, melody, harmony, and dynamics. Now these are elements of music, and we are going to be discussing these elements in our last subtopic for this particular topic. Okay, so the goal of music is to create something meaningful and expressive. So we are arranging sounds using time, using different elements. Another definition is the human-centered definition. Simple. Music is how humans translate feelings, thoughts, and ideas into sound. Remember that favorite love song of yours? Or probably you wanted to appreciate your mom, or you wanted to simply worship, and then you are able to put in your thoughts and feelings together, or ideas. Music simply is you translating your feelings to sounds. It could be joy, it could be worry, it could be worship, hope, or love. Then a functional definition we could use to define music is just organizing sounds. Okay, as simple as clapping your hands, 1, 2. If you are able to arrange this sound, probably 1, you have created music. Simply arranging sounds in time. We are going to be moving to the next: noise versus sound versus music. Personally, to me, I would bring my experience to this lesson. I can say the opposite of music is noise. Why? Because sound is any frequency our ears can perceive. Noise, however, has to do with sound that is not pleasant to human hearing. While music is an organized sound, we can say noise is a sound or a series of sound or a sequence that is not organized. Think about when that cup fell down in the kitchen. It didn't sound pleasant to your ears. Next, we are going to be talking about music and silence. So not every time that we have sound we should have sound throughout our music. There are periods we should have a little silence. Yes, there's a popular saying that says sound is silver, but silence is gold. For the drummers and one or two bass guitarists that feels they play throughout, no, there are times you give moments, you give space, it gives meaning, it creates something emotional and beautiful. So let's learn music in the proper way, not because we feel we know music, but let's learn it in the proper way. Now, the history of music can be traced back to as human existence. Initially, music started with just human voices, stones, and stick. From the Bible, we could see in Exodus chapter 15 that when the children of Israel escaped from Egypt, naturally they were able to just put in songs. I don't know what instrument they were using then, but music came from there. Also, there was a time that God instructed Moses to write songs. Now, those songs were the teaching God gave Moses to teach the children of Israelites, but because they were rebellious and they quickly forget the commandments, Moses had to turn it to a song instructed by God and keep on teaching his generations and generations to come so that it stays in the hearts. And then we can trace back music to ancient time, ancient civilizations, and these have different purpose. It could be for ceremony, for worship, for storytelling. Now we are looking at the uses of music, and this is a very beautiful subtopic we're going to be exploring here. Music can be used to express emotions. I believe that each and every one of you love a particular song because of your emotions. It could be love, it could be hope, it could be for worship. Music can be used for emotions, to express, to connect, or to tell a story. Music can also be used in spiritual and religious activity. For example, we all worship on Sundays, some on Saturdays, and even other religions use chant and other form of music to worship or meditate. It can also be used for cultural and social ceremonies or activities. For example, in your village, if you have one, there can be some form of little gatherings, and then there's a little bonding and storytelling using music. Music can also be used for communication or educational purpose. The popular tune A, B, C, D, E, F, G was what we used to learn our alphabet those days when we were small. Now you can see how music is used for educational purposes. It could be used for communication so that you remember a message. Music can also be used for therapies and psychological purpose. For example, personally, I don't like working without listening to music. It just helps me focus more, and I believe there are people like that. So for psychological reasons, we listen to music. A research of 2021, I believe, or 23, said Nigeria was paid about $51 billion to the music industry, and that was because we consume a lot of music materials. Now, this takes us to our next point, which is music can be used for entertainment and recreational activities, concerts, medias, parties, and even in church. Sometimes we have a little gathering, we just want to listen to music, and like I said, this was the amount paid to Nigerian musicians. That was because of entertainment. Also, music can give economical and career opportunities. For example, personally, I'm in the line of teaching and particularly the music field. So music can give you an opportunity to pick a career. it could be performance, it could be managing, it could be production. So you can see that our daily life, somehow we have music involved. Classification of music. Now music is classified based on different categories. Now by origin we have the Western music, which we have the classicals, we have Latin music, and we have various forms of music in the Western world. And then we have the African music, which is what we in the African continent, just like Afro and some other form of music, traditional musics we use. We can also classify music based on performance. It could be a vocal performance or purely instrumentals. In some cases we have both of them together. We also have some researchers that says we classify music based on purpose, which are sacred musics and secular music. As we all know, sacred music or religious music are music we use for worship, while secular musics are music purely used for entertainment, communication, and other form of music. Finally, we're going to be looking at the elements of music. We're going to begin with the melody. So a melody is simply a sequence of notes that form a tune. Melody is that line of your music that triggers recognition. It gives your music identity. Let's do a class walk. Play a familiar melody and try to hum along. Let's say this is Super Story, the Nigerian drama series. I believe just telling you this, you can hear the melody somewhere in your mind. That's because the melody gives the song its identity. Next, we are looking at the harmony. Harmony has to do with two or more notes being played together. It could be your backups, it could be your instruments backing you up, but then any other line you have outside your melody, any notes you have or line up. Let's not use line up, let's use another tune that supports your melody. We could say it's harmony here. So we'll explain this as we proceed in class. The next element we have, which is number 3, is tempo. Tempo is very simple. It simply means how fast or how slow your music is. So tempo has to do with the speed of the music. Next we have dynamics, and these are very simple things, but let's still learn them. Dynamics has to do with how loud or how soft your music is. Not every time we have loud music or loud notes, and not every time we have soft. Yeah, but all this helps us to give our music meaning. Number 5, we have timbre or tone color. Now timbre has to do with uniqueness of sound or voice. For example, a trumpet and a saxophone sounds very similar, but then what separates them is they have their uniqueness or their quality. A piano is different from a flute. Why? Because of its tone color. Next we have texture. Texture has to do with how musical lines interact. Probably your drum is moving, your trumpet is moving, your brass is moving, and then the singers are singing. Now we have different lines, different tunes, different tune colors also, but then you look at the music is still making sense, isn't it? Next, number 7, we are looking at form. Form has to do with structure of music. For example, there are some songs that we have verse and chorus. Some are just verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, like Amazing Grace. Some has verse, chorus, and then the bridge. So song structure has to do with how we organize our song, how we arrange our songs. We'll explain more of this in our songwriting class. Number 8, we are looking at pitch. Pitch simply means I think the dictionary meaning of pitch is a passive frequency our ears can receive. Now pitch has to do with how high or how low a sound is. I believe you already know what pitch is all about. Lastly, we are going to be looking at rhythm. Rhythm has to do with control, timing, and movement. Another definition I'd personally like to use that is not here is rhythm has to do with arrangement of beat as it passes through time. A little example is probably in our local church. When someone is asked to lead praise, you hear something like your hands, and then we start clapping in a rhythmic way. 1, 2, 1, 2. So while our time goes 1, 2, 3, 4, our rhythm goes 1 and 1 and. That's simply rhythm. Hope you have learned one or two from the lesson today. So I'm going to be doing a quick recap. We looked at the introduction to music, where we just discussed about music, how we feel it, we listen to it, and then we understand it. Next, we looked at several definitions of music. Now, we didn't do it in such a way that it will scare you, but rather a way that it is more interesting for you to understand. We looked at sound versus noise versus music, and like I said, sound is anything we can hear. Noise has to do with a sound that is not organized, while music, on the other hand, is an organized sound. We looked briefly at the history of music, which I believe you are able to get some things out of it, just very briefly. We also looked at the uses of music, and we said music can be used for several purposes: for worship, for communication, for education, and different purposes. Lastly, we looked at the elements of music, which are simply like the characteristics of music, and every element answers a question to every music we listen to. Rhythm answers the when, melody answers what to remember, harmony what supports it, tempo how fast, dynamics how loud or how soft it is, what color or what quality has to do with timbre. We looked at how it is arranged, which is form, and then how high or how low simply talks about pitch. So I believe with this you have gotten an understanding to what music is all about. Remember, this is music theory, and we are aimed at explaining these things to you so that you understand, not because you want to just pass exams or because you want to show off. No, our goal here is to make you understand music in a friendly way but still impactful. Remember, it is the forge, it is process, not something you just understand now and conclude. Anyways, I thank you for listening to this level, to this point. I believe you learned one or two. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Shalom and peace.